as I said, is Draven up at the top, going head to head against the Kaiser player we were just spectating the round before. These two players are fighting for their final lifeline. If they win, they move on forward to the losers final. If they lose, they made a heck of a run, nonetheless, right? So they're not going down, they're not leaving here empty-handed, so they feel good in that. But you know how a lot of competitive players are. If you spend and committed this much time, you want the gold, don't you, Ane?
Yeah, you definitely feel pretty bad when you play for 7+ hours and then just miss the top 3, top 2, winning it all. Definitely been in that position before, and it can be a little bit frustrating, but you can't let it get to you. Just got to say, I played well, and my performance speaks for itself. But as we say this, classic Kaisa start.
There we go. And you know, a spinning axe coming down, protecting the overzealous fan from the Hexade. We were wondering before the set was even introduced, we were saying, are reaction speed gears going to be enough to take down or to kind of dwindle the power level of things like Kaizen? And we saw as early as that opening turn with the Zealous fan getting protected from the raid that was inevitably going to be taking it out. So man, a quick draw gears are pretty good, huh?
Yeah, I think they're honestly one of the strongest pieces from the new set, and might even be a little overtuned, but it's pretty early to say. I mean, the set's not even out yet. I think a lot of people, when we first read this, were like, shouldn't these be actions? But nope, they're reactions, which is cool. It does make some of these removal decks like Kaisa somewhat worse, right? Because like we saw on the first turn, the Ray just gets checked by the axe, and then the axe is now permanent buff. So you got to deal with that. I mean, that fan's he's trying to show off to Draven, I guess.
Yeah, trying to get his attention, saying, hey, look how good I'm doing. And he's doing rather good. The stack deck going to be coming out, allowing things like Nox's Hopeful to come online, since that Legion ability will be available to him. You do have 4 remaining runes for something like your Draven champion, but I think how Draven players have been playing lately, they kind of want to keep some runes open for the cards that we're just discussing about, those spinning axes, the long swords, just cards that are able to kind of play more defensively, because you think Draven has a bit more of an aggressive legend, but is actually pretty decent at defending as well, right?
Yeah, you don't have to play super aggressively. You can definitely play this more mid-range game, get a ton of value with your leader, and just say, I'm going to beat you in card economy. And I mean, we're seeing it happen already, where Draven has 4 cards in hand, Kaisa has 3 on the turn. It's so hard to contest with a Draven leader who's just getting free cards every time he plays the game. Right, where Kaisa is getting mana for casting spells, but Draven is like, oh, I'm playing the game and I'm just drawing multiple cards off of it. Like, it's such a crazy leader ability.
Oh yeah, ridiculous sometimes. But the Hopeful did get played out the previous turn, passing it back over to Kaiser, so able to conquer Targon's Peak, readying 2 runes at the end of the turn. Unless you want to waste a, a kind of premature rebuke on something like that. But the Dreaming Tree also just kind of positioned from that Hopeful with just 4 might, but with 2 runes available to Draven. Do you think they maybe have another gear, something like the Longsword? Would you be kind of hesitant to try to conquer there?
I mean, when you're playing from the back foot like this, you kind of are forced to at least do something. Otherwise, he just kind of sits back and says, I'm going to slowly gain the lead, and again, my card advantage. I'm going to gain the point lead, and then it can get a little bit hard to come back. That being said, there are tools for Kaisa, like a piercing light would be pretty good there. And sure, you can like react with a spinning axe or a longsword, but then he is tapped out and you still have quite a few runes to work with. That being said, just opts the trade in, opening up the Dreaming Tree. Draven does have a full base though, so it does feel a little bit bad to push up, because even though you get a point, see, yeah, he's thinking about it. He's like, do I want to give him a draw?
Yeah,
Like it feels so bad.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. It does feel bad. And this is a very smart play because usually you want to just keep putting points on the board. But when you're playing against a Draven, this is such a powerful legend, as we mentioned before this entire tournament, actually. You don't want to, you have to always play around the legend ability. You can't just let them get those simple conquers or simple combat wins to get that card draw online. So I like this play from Glasna, being patient, saying, you know what, I'm just going to be conquering on my turn when I have a little bit more control and a little bit more runes available. But you know, you have a quite decent board right now. But as we saw in the previous round, this Kai'Sa not really drawing as we're used to seeing Kai'Sa players draw in the past, just 2 cards available to them. I thought maybe they would get a Dreaming Tree trigger with something like a Cleave on that push, but when they both just traded, I was like, okay, maybe there's something else in Glass's mind, but so far we haven't really seen it so far.
Yeah, I mean, could have been trying to bait something like a longsword or a spinning axe or something, and then going in with a piercing light. But once you pass the action, then pass the focus, then obviously if he decides to let it through, well, can't do that anymore. But now getting the opportunity to go on to even points, which Draven does like to do, pushing up onto the Targons, which is going to be quite nice. Like you said, Draven being able to hold runes up can be so strong with the rebukes that are in a lot of the Draven decks, the fighter flights, the long swords, the spinning axes. It just feels like kind of infinite cards that you have to worry about at this point.
Yeah, it really does feel like that sometimes. It is ridiculous at times. But Noxus Hopeful does get the conquer, so you're able to be a little bit more lenient on the cards you play because you're able to get 2 cards back at the end. Does he want to push forward with the Zealous Fan? You have to be careful because the Overzealous Fan is the one carrying the spinning axe. So if it goes down, you most likely will be losing that spinning axe. So decides to just play another fan, backing up the Hopeful on Targon's Peak. Since you are at the even point total, I like how Tog is playing this, not kind of being very disciplined and not really pushing unnecessary points, valuing keeping your cards when you keeping them for down the road, because a spinning axe fan can be somewhat impactful a little bit later on down the road.
Yeah, this is pretty rough. I would like to see like a singularity here or something to clear both the Draven and the Hopeful. But seeing as we did just push the portal, that makes me think we're not doing. Oh, okay, we are doing it. I'm kind of interested why it was done in this order, but hey, it would feel good to be able to clear these. This does beat the longsword, as you do 6 damage, though the spinning axe is still something to be concerned about. Does look like Tog is thinking here, though.
Yeah, that's the only available option for him if he's trying to get out. I'm assuming the singularity hasn't specifically chosen on screen, but I could only imagine he's targeting the Hopeful and the Draven in the base. The spinning axe will be bringing one of those units, most likely the Draven, up to 7, but both of those units going to be hitting the trash, leaving behind the Lonely Fan. Is this the moment where this Kai'Sa player starts to stabilize herself? Granted, just 2 cards in hand, but so far not feeling too far behind in terms of board state.
Yep, finally able to do something, though you do have to be watching how Draven is getting to the... Oh, wow, choosing to still not push up the Kai'Sa. But you do need to be wary of the Draven, the Darius, the Kai'Sa. There are cards here that can be played and immediately accelerate, but wow, okay, just choosing to give it up. I mean, reasonable. Kai'Sa doesn't really have a lot of great options for this range that are going to feel good, as even using like a Void Seeker for a fan is just going to feel absolutely awful because you're still just trading. And there's the Kai'Sa going up to 6.
Yeah, so Tog is feeling pretty good, if I do say so myself, keeping that even point total. Falling stars from a Draven, we don't see it too often, coming down, taking the double target approach to take down the Kai'Sa on its opposing side. And man, how do you feel about falling stars on Draven, NA? It looks pretty decent.
I like it a lot. Me and my testing group have been playing it in the deck because it does help out in the mirror a little bit. You do get to clear some of the units outside of combat in a way that like the fighter flights doesn't save them. And it does hit for 6 if you do the double target on 1, which can again beat like the long sword buff. Sometimes, oh, and there's the rebuke. Okay. This card is so absurd.
Yeah, it really is, and I like this from Tog, playing towards keeping the spinning axe game plan available to him, so letting go, which some would call the more valuable unit being the Kaiser, because you could have played, actually no, it makes sense, because if you rebuke that Draven, the other Draven was probably going to be coming in anyways, but going up to 7 points so far, Draven just one final point away. Can this treasure hunter get things done with any kind of, maybe like a spinning axe, long sword, and a cleaver or blood? Are we asking for a little bit too much from this treasure hunter?
I mean, there are a fair number of cards here that do it for Draven. There's like any of the fighter flights which haven't been used. I mean, some of these Draven lists are playing 2 or even 3 rebukes, so you could just have another rebuke. I will say, when you do start aggressively trying to remove the Darius, you could walk into like a Hextech Ray or like a piercing light. I honestly would probably be fine just kind of playing this slow and not forcing myself onto the Targon's Peak if I don't have to. Could even just like move up the treasure hunter onto the Dreaming Tree and maybe hide a card if you have one and say, okay, I am like, it's pretty hard for you to take this through a hidden plus 6 mana up. Okay, yeah, just choosing the pull back and probably just pass it. But we'll see. Maybe he does have like, there could, like you say, be a Darius Cleave if he plays the Cleave. We haven't seen one yet.
Right. I mean, this doesn't
Okay,
feel
yeah.
terrible, right? Just kind of, you're ahead by quite the big margin, 73 points, 74 points right now because of the hold from the Darius. So he can't, no matter what he does, he's not winning in the next 1 or 2 turns. So just take your time, make that final push really count. You have 3 units in the base, maybe even another accelerate unit on the follow-up turn. I think this next push, once Tog gets back on the play, should be the winning push for his game number 1, but we'll see. I mean, there's a little bit more cards in Kaiser's hand. If they have something like a Cathian Rain right now, that could be the window of opportunity this Kaiser player needs to get back in this game. But I'll be a little bit worried about a hard bargain. You wouldn't have, you're at 10. I think a Cathian Rain is 7, so you would have enough to pay the hard bargain. So maybe if he does have it, this could be a good line for the Kaiser.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate it. At 8 runes, it's hard for Draven to really do too much to threaten both battlefields. It's literally like, yeah, actually, I don't even think there is anything. You can only threaten 1. So Rain wouldn't be awful. That being said, if you do tap out, things do get kind of scary in that you could just lose your board. And again, like you said, you're just 1 turn away from losing. Have you seen Kaiser's play Rain in this format?
I believe we just saw in the previous game, okay, there wasn't a Cathian Rain against the Victor player in game number 1. So we know they are running it in their main board. Yeah. So I would assume they have at least 1 in their deck. But are you saying most Kaisers are kind of letting go of a Cathian Rain in set 2?
Yeah, I haven't seen it as much. But again, when you're in like a testing circle, maybe sometimes your ideas all congregate into like one.
Yeah, right.
Like one person says something and then everyone else just kind of ends up agreeing with it. So yeah. Hey, I totally open to being wrong. I mean, set 1, the high-end spells were Rain and the Time Warp, and Singularity kind of got phased out, but we're seeing Singularity here again, and it seems to be working to great effect. So I would be curious to see what the optimal top-end spell lineup is, because like I said, my group isn't playing Rain, which, I mean, it, like you said, it would be pretty good here, so...
Yeah, it wouldn't be too bad. The Yordle comes out, readying the Darius, so pushing onto the Dreaming Tree, going up to 5, but it looks like he doesn't feel too bad tapping out, going for the big defensive hold, but I don't think this is going to be enough. 10 total might. You have 2 runes, a double hex ray could be bringing those Dariuses up to, oh, and to make matters worse, the Bryn here Thunder Song coming out, negating any kind of further play from this Kaiser player. That should be all but over. I mean, you're not able to play your Stupefies, your Hex Tech Rays. I mean, as little options as you had already, now they're down to 0 options. It's just straight math. Darius is going to be eating a fight or flight, just has to deal with 5 total might, and you just easily have that with the 2 remaining units. Tog going up a game in this best of 3 series. Well done. It looked pretty good. Draven kind of just doing what Draven does, just outvalues you in that resource department, had better board control over the game and a little bit more units. You know, that overzealous fan from, I believe, the opening turn, Draven would be very proud of him right now. That spinning axe stayed around the entire game.
It looks like he's channeled an extra rune, so I am guessing that Kaisa is choosing to go first. I guess we will see, but you don't really hate it as Kaisa, right? Like, you still do get to play cards first. You still do have, like, the 3 drops. Like, you have the Yordle for 3, so you're not always wasting a rune. It's definitely possible to have an optimal opener even on going first, and I do imagine they are going first here. I will say Kaisa playing Reavers does kind of stink because Draven really likes Reavers,
Right.
and I imagine Draven's 3rd battlefield is also Reavers.
I think so.
So
yeah.
having okay, no, so Draven is going. Okay, so I did call it.
Yeah, it looks like he didn't want to get Tog his game plan, because most Dravens go game 2 if they end up winning Obelisk of Power, expecting to be on the draw, but kind of flipping things on its head. Kaisa playing around as best he could, but Stack Deck coming out, just seeing what he has available. Is he going to go ahead and play something like an Overzealous Fan? I believe those are the only 2 drops Dravens are running right now, right? Overzealous Fan and Treasure Hunter, or am I forgetting one?
Some are playing Tide Turner as well.
Right.
It's pretty powerful purple 2-drop. That being said, I would say it is less popular. Okay, yeah, and he does hit the Treasure Hunter turn 1, kind of exactly what you'd want to see, and the Kaisa does get dropped immediately, so kind of played this out for us.
Yeah, it's probably as ideal as a start you can have for the Draven player. You do get the point online. You do get the gold resources available to him the next turn. You have 5 runes, so going with the Darius development there. Has to recycle. Wait, he's choosing. What's going on there? No, he has to go for a Fury rune.
Oh, okay. What on earth?
Was it 2 Fury? I'm confused. I think maybe there was only 1 Fury that he decided that he had before the Darius. So it makes sense that there's only Chaos left. But the Kaisa does get pushed in, and Reaver's Row might just be the best battlefield for Draven. So this doesn't feel too good. But Falling Star, I would imagine it had to target Darius, because if you're going for the Treasure Hunter, you probably wanted to do that before sending in your Kaisa to give him that extra gold token. But Darius does get taken down. Can this Kaisa hold at least 1 point, or does Draven have something in mind to try to push forward this very turn?
I would say it's probably pretty likely that the Kaisa will survive. The only cards that are really outing the Kaisa here are cards that have mostly fallen out of favor in Draven, like the Void Seekers and such. There could be a Falling Star, but it's like a pretty neg Falling Star. I don't want a Falling Star a Kaisa. Honestly, if I'm Draven, I'm kind of fine with letting the Kaisa stick around for a little bit. You could go for like a bluff onto the Reaver's Row.
Right.
Like push up the Treasure Hunter, say like, hey, are you going to do anything about this? You want to retreat? I could have... I guess I'm wrong.
Yeah, you know, there's 2 players with Falling Stars in this matchup. Not only Kaisa, but Draven going Falling Star, but the retreat coming down, saving that accelerated Kaisa, able to be played out for the follow-up turn. And retreat does give you that extra room, so it doesn't feel too bad. Almost like he expected something like a Falling Star. And speak of the devil, that is the 3rd Falling Star in this game, number 2. Both of these guys doing double 3 might damage. Stupefy bringing the Draven Draven down into that damage territory, knocking out both of them into the trash bin. So Yordle able to conquer whichever battlefield he wants as Draven is completely tapped out. And Kai'Sa looking pretty decent for the first time in this best of 3 series. Kai'Sa has the board development, has the hand size, and not too far, pretty even on rune economy as well. I think Kai'Sa might have a turning point right now.
Yeah, this is definitely a good start for Kai'Sa. One of the issues that Draven can have is if you do get your stuff really aggressively removed, it can be hard to really get yourself running again. Generally, the deck doesn't play in the super top end like rune count. You play like max out at like 8, sometimes maybe 9. So being forced to keep playing these units, it can be hard to play multiple units in a turn if you're being forced to like accelerate Darius's and Kai'Sa's and put out Darius, play a card to ready it. You almost sometimes have to like spend a turn rebuilding up. So when your opponent does see a lot of this really aggressive removal, it can be a bit difficult. But does have the accelerated Kai'Sa and threatening the Reavers.
And it looks like he wants to bring the Kai'Sa down into the trade territory, but the longsword going to be nullifying that. Kai'Sa going up to 6 total might. Yordle just had 2, so it'd be effectively 3 against 2 there. So the conquer does happen. Draven does get the draw. So this is where things get a little dicey. And the 4th falling star. Well, this is pretty much just a falling star matchup. You have just 6 total might. You don't have enough for a hard bargain. So that falling star will be paying quite amount of dividends, allowing the sentry and the poro to push forward. Most likely going to be conquering to 4. Unless there's a reason to be a little bit patient. But there's no units. I would imagine you take these points when you can.
Yeah, I do feel like I would want to push up on both. Like, you're still on evens. You can put your Portal onto Reavers, which is particularly nice, as, again, Draven generally doesn't have a lot of non-combat removal that is actually going to get rid of the unit. I say that as we had a Falling Star played last turn. But putting the Portal onto the Reavers can be pretty nice, as it can just retreat and you can get another gold token. Thing to push up onto the Obelisk instead makes sense.
Yeah, I do like the way Glassness doing things, having the Portal on the Reavers row just in case you have to keep it safe. Going up to 5 points so far though, so not looking too bad. Has enough right now. Actually, no, with Darius being at 7, you have to be a little bit careful. And it looks like this might just be the card we were talking about, the game 1. A Cathian Rain will be deployed on the side of Kai'Sa. How much pings are you going to be doing? Can you eliminate the entire board? You're doing 12 total damage. There's 7 plus 4, which is 11. So essentially, if there's no... the hard bargain, forcing the remaining runes to be tapped from Kai'Sa.
That was a little bit scary, because you do open yourself up to like a spinning axe on Darius, and then you do have to trade out your unit. It's actually not that big of a deal, right? Because he does axe the Draven, or the Darius. Darius takes 8 damage, has 2 health remaining, and you just push up the Portal trade, and then you can push up like the Kai'Sa. So never mind, definitely guaranteed there. It does get pushed back to the Draven, and this is kind of what I was saying. Like, if you can't stick units, it can be a little bit hard. You have to stick units and contest the battlefields here, though, because we are on 6 points, right?
Yeah, you know, we haven't seen anything like a Thousand Tail Watcher in this game, or even in the last match where we were spectating Glass. I'm wondering if they don't run it, but that seems almost blasphemous, right? To not run Thousand Tail Watcher anymore. I think we just haven't seen it yet be drawn.
This is kind of annoying, though. The Kai'Sa is 6 might. Obviously, you can remove it. There are 4 up, though, so there's Rebukes you have to worry about. There's still Fighter Flights you have to worry about. And there's even like a Ride the Wind, potentially. If he still has it in his deck, that might be something you side out. I don't know the siding pattern for this matchup, but looks like we are not seeing that. And goes up to 7, and we're just digging for an answer here, it looks like.
Yep, gonna be bringing that Kaiser down to just 6 total might. What do they have to follow things up? The Void Seeker coming down, giving that Kaiser effectively 1 HP. So right now they can trade with the Poro, but a Hex
Right.
Tech Ray gonna be cleaning things up. Even a hard bargain is gonna be enough, but the Flash coming in at reaction speed, saving the Kaiser from being taken out. But this gives them the conquer. Unless there's a fight or flight right here, right now, this might just be going into a game 3.
Yeah, this makes me think there's a fight or flight or a rebuke.
Mm-hmm.
I think you still play into it. What is the downside if you don't? I think you still do play into it though. Yeah. You just say you don't got it.
Yeah, if you have it, you have it. If you don't, and he does indeed have the rebuke, going to be coming at a hefty cost, but you're able to play out the Poro, and it looks like the Sentry on top of that. So 75 points, but Draven isn't feeling all that bad. You're able to push forward. Actually, it's Reaver's Row, so I think Kaiser looking decent, right? You have enough to push in the following turn. You keep that Kaiser in the backline safe, unless there's some kind of backline interaction for Draven, or another way would be a hard hold type of strategy where he just puts a lot of units onto this left hand side. Going with the fan, that's one way to do it, and Darius in the back pushing forward. So 7-7, these things are all tied up. These guys don't want to let it go to a game 3, but let's see if Glasna has something in mind with these final 2 cards remaining, because this is pretty much it, guys. Final turn for either Glasna or the final turn for Tog, as he will be taking the game. Sentry, just to dig a little deeper, it looks like these last 2 cards might not be exactly what he would hope for, but Stupefy to trade with the fan because it didn't trigger at first. That's pretty cool. That's a pretty smart thing to do from Glasna.
Yeah, when you push up the 1, you get the bluff this, but I think you're just never retreating there. Like, you're tapped out if either this is the last turn of the game in one way or another. It's kind of hard. You've gone through all your falling stars.
And man, and I feel like there's only one deck that could climb from a bit of that deficit. We saw 3 or maybe 2 to 3 falling stars total from this Kaiser player, and Draven just inches away from winning it all. The Kaiser does come in, allowing him to get 2 draws. An Accelerator Watcher does it. Does he have it? He taps 2, so there's no such thing as an Accelerator Watcher. Darius, he played a Sentry.
Yeah, he played a Sentry. Can't be Darius. So what are we looking for? You could have like a Singularity. Piercing Light is not enough. Piercing Light comboed with something maybe.
Yeah, Piercing Light, Void Seeker. You're doing 2 damage, bringing it down to effectively 5 total might. The Void Seeker wouldn't be enough unless the exact cards. Oh, I like this play. Triggering on your own Sentry to see 1 additional card. There's 2 damage on the Kaiser on the Reaver's Row. Void Seeker, Stupefy. It looks like it's 5. It will be the Darius. He doesn't enter ready because there's been one too many cards played out this turn, but he's going for the hold, but a little too late. Draven gonna be holding himself, going up to 8, and Tog, he showed me a picture, chat. He said it is 7 in the morning for him. Going crazy. I don't know how he has so much brain power, but one of the best players in the current game of Riftbound, at least online for sure, is Tog. Well done, solidifying his spot in the losers finals. And Glasna, heck of a run, does get all the 4th place position prizing. And man, what a game.